everything is possible, even the impossible. Mary Poppins.
In the previous video, we showed you a bit of our creative process in crafting our escape house mystery game and invited you back to see all the pieces become the set for the immersive experience Allied in Death. It is here, dear friend, that I must give you fair warning. I am completely incapable of bringing magic to a scene without first creating a storm of chaos. Others may be able to create, design, and decorate within a fastidious bubble, but while I adore neatness and function at my best in an orderly environment normally, when it comes to large artistic projects, I simply cannot be clever and magical while simultaneously pulling off tidiness, a fact that I deeply regret but have learned to live with. When I was a very little girl, the task of bringing order to my room always began with me at its center, wishing desperately that my toys, clothes, books, and other sundries had the good sense that the fortunate Banks children had had when they had obeyed Mary Poppins' directives and simply tucked themselves into their proper places of their own volition. My things, by contrast, stubbornly refused to do anything but languish about lazily, maintaining the position they had taken up when I had first tossed them there, and despite my best efforts and firm tone, forced me to clean them up under very real parental threat that I might never see the light of day again. I can assure you, my dear friends, that I am just as disappointed in my belongings' lack of initiative today as I was in my pixiehood. They remain utterly unmotivated. To this day, whenever I reach a place of pure exhaustion in an endeavor, and because I'm incapable of thinking small or simply, this tends to be my normal state of being, I really wish I could simply direct the things into their proper places without any further exertion on my part. Lacking a handy Mary Poppins, the closest we've come to this scenario is through the help of my very capable creative team of conspirators. Be that as it may, you should know I would not turn away the practically perfect, familiarly prim figure with her deep bag of tricks and her iconic umbrella, should anyone know her personally and care to pass along the sentiment. For now, it remained up to us to bring all the elements together and get us over the finish line for this year's event. After all the large components had been packed up, my house was properly ransacked for artwork. You may remember from a previous video that one of us has given refuge to all the discarded art pieces that call out as one of us passes by in a second-hand store, without thought to actual wall capacity. This trait has made my house a bona fide source of wall decor for any given themed event, or three. Vintage dishes, furniture, small decor items, and mood pieces befitting of the theme were also scavenged from everyone's collections and were taken on an exciting little field trip to be part of the big night. And with the vehicles packed, we headed off for the Lyrical Pixie's house, by way of Starbucks, to transform her living space into an immersive gaming experience. Once on site, everything was unloaded, and we immediately began playing a sliding logic puzzle, which required us to move existing furniture to other rooms or storage, clear shelves and walls, and remove electronics before select pieces could be slid back into the set and the rejected furniture squirreled away into storage for the night. This year's biggest transformation challenge was the white rectangular sunken room off the kitchen that I had immediately envisioned being the perfect moody cellar/bomb shelter set in the foggy English countryside during the Battle for Britain. All we had to do now was take a modern, brightly lit, empty room and turn it into an old-world cellar with a sort of dark academia moody aesthetic by combining old brick and timber walls with discarded family antiques, dust-covered vintage bottles on an ancient wooden wine rack, a variety of canned foods, discarded artwork, and trunks filled with old linens, and drenching the whole thing in dim, warm lighting effects, we could create the perfect environment in which to introduce clues that would be instrumental to the game players in solving the mystery and opening the next locked room. black light flashlights were hidden in a trunk in the newly built old cellar, and wine bottles whose corks identified themselves by glowing beneath the beam of the flashlights bore labels with which the sleuthing guests could decode a clue. But this was the second room of play, and would only open when the first air raid siren soundtrack began playing. The first room, open to play, would be the study, where the game would begin and an unanticipated murder would occur. This room would be the home to the fireplace we built in the first video and the desk we refinished, as well as various smaller props and artwork to complete the set. The fireplace was built intentionally with 4 separate sections that could be slid or lifted into place and were made to fit perfectly like a puzzle. This allowed us to transport it, build it, and take it apart again with ease. The stone hearth, whose secret drawer would hold a valuable clue to the final solution of the game, would also contain a fireplace insert set to no heat, but would lend a comfortable aesthetic glow to the intentionally moody space. The large claw and ball desk that we had repainted in the smoky colors and antique gold accents was set in the center of the room, and a QR code was placed on one of the drawers to lock it. The players would need to find a key with a QR code that verified it was for the desk in order to access what was inside. It looks like this fits the desk drawer. For the first time this year, we introduced an entire system of QR codes that we had recorded and filmed, and which allowed us to give the guests information and clues to help them figure out what was going on inside the game. For instance, an antique telephone hanging on the wall of the study bore a QR code which permitted the players to overhear a conversation from one of the characters and an unknown person.
Lord Chapelmont here.
And an old upright radio held a QR with Winston Churchill's "Every Man to His Post" speech from 1940. This was simply a fun addition and held no clues to the mystery. Doors were locked and unlocked using QR codes placed on the doors and on hidden keys. As the door opens and you enter, you are hit with a strong chemical smell of Lord Tempest's top-secret laboratory. Oh dear, this door is locked until the unexploded Nazi ordnance is disarmed. I do hope someone is clever enough to cut the right wire. This looks like it's been plagiarized. If it's locked, it must be important. As the old saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. Unfortunately, you seem to have lost the will. The game, which was a combination of World War II spy intrigue and murder mystery, would begin with a recorded narration and encourage the players to use their phones to scan codes and search for information to help them solve puzzles and to unlock rooms to continue gameplay and eventually solve the murder and track down a Nazi spy. A soundtrack with air raid sirens, Luftwaffe planes, bombs being dropped, cracking building sounds, and ending with the all-clear siren would send the players to the cellar bomb shelter and transition the game for each round of play. The warrior pixie and the aviator pixie would both be in attendance as characters and as game facilitators who would help to direct the flow of play, a somewhat challenging job at times. An unexploded ordnance was uncovered in the backyard after the first air raid siren soundtrack, and the players were instructed how to defuse the bomb through solving a riddle written by the pixie's eldest sister. Oh dear, this ordnance is unexploded and requires immediate disarming. I do hope someone in your group has the expertise to find the right wire and disarm the damn thing. We wouldn't want this to be your final resting place. It seems that black and white is never right. But for panel 1, red is a warning, yellow says slow down, and green is a go. Blue? We don't really know. For panel 2, roses are red and green are their leaves. If you cut the blue from the green, what color is seen? When you cut the correct wires, the light will go out and the bomb is diffused. The final room to be opened during gameplay would be a laboratory and workshop where top-secret Allied war effort research was being done on a paint formula which imparted near invisibility to whatever it was applied to. This room was a combination of military orderliness and disheveled scientist's lab, which allowed us to imagine a Tesla-like energy device coupled with chemical elements that when combined created a fantastical paint machine. Obviously, the time we spent with researching electroculture this year bled into our imaginations in this area. An old brass headboard was reimagined as steampunk pipes in the lab, and glow-in-the-dark powder was added to resin to create a spill, which turned the paperwork beneath it partly invisible. A vintage reel-to-reel projector from the Lyrical Pixie's collection was paired with my own vintage projector screen, and the room was dressed with maps of Europe, a Spitfire painting, and draped with a Union Jack. Once the setup of all the major elements was complete and each room cleaned up, we walked through the entire set, fine-tuning for atmosphere. The Pixies, who had worked hard beside us throughout the entire project, spent an hour or so carefully cobwebbing the cellar with the diligence of a certain Charlotte, whose web-weaving skills were unparalleled in the fairy tale lore. The Pixie's father swooped in at the last moment to arm the bomb by plugging in the batteries and installing his cleverly fashioned bomb inserts with their covers screwed tightly in place, and finally it was time for the party to begin. In the end, Mary Poppins was hardly missed, and while she may have made the process easier overall, there is something deeply satisfying in pulling a project from your imagination to physical reality with a team of your favorite people and with your own hard work, chaos notwithstanding. There's something about saying to everyone at large, I want to create this scene in my head, and then brainstorming and experimenting, learning from others more skilled in crafting sets until the vision you only imagined becomes a reality. The funny thing is, the more we do this type of project, the less intimidating every outlandish idea becomes. Well, we say to one another, we pulled that one thing off. Why can't we do this other crazy idea? I suspect there are very few creative endeavors that my children can ever think of or encounter that will be able to completely intimidate them, as they have learned to simply call the team together and hash out the details of not whether the idea can be accomplished, but how it can be accomplished. am certain that knowing how to collaborate with others, problem solve through difficulties, to be unafraid of hard work, and to know how to dream outside the box will serve them well all their lives. We are in no way professionals in the projects we take on, as I'm sure is obvious to actual professional set designers and prop builders, but we continue to learn from others and by trial and error what works and what doesn't. And isn't that how we all grow? Despite being utterly drained by the end of this project, it was delightful to watch the guests arrive in full costume and character, and to know that for a few hours they would leave the world behind and enter into a historically based but totally fictitious world of our imagining. This alone was a moment of reinvigoration for us all. In an upcoming video, we will be sharing how the main creative components of the game are repurposed for use in an entirely different way. So if you're interested in seeing what we're up to, be sure and stay tuned. We hope you've enjoyed our video and that if you have, you will like it, comment below, and even share it. If you have not already, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell icon to be notified when we release new content, as it helps us to continue to grow and create. Thank you for taking your time to spend with us, as we appreciate it very much. See you next time.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
You can't depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus. Mark Twain.